Big applause today. Welcome in to the Rant with me, Pugs Moran. We do this every day, round about noon. Today, 12:15. It's talk radio for normal Americans. What's a normal American? Quick litmus test. Have you ever been arrested in a Walmart? If you have, you're out. Are you still invited to your family's dinners? If you are, you're in. Have you ever been dragged off an airplane and gone viral because you just couldn't fucking hold your shit together while the plane sat there on the tarmac? If so, you're not allowed. You see, we want normal people listening to this talk radio show, normal people to inhabit our chat room, our big burgeoning chat room every day. We got Peter, we got Jeff, we got Byron, we got Al, Sports Bras, CC. Excuse me. Peter's out there. Peter's out there talking about the NCAA still like the week before, but, you know, he's establishing himself as the NCAA madman of the chat room. What do we do here? Well, we talk about the world. Hold on. Oh, what? I would like to state that I am not sick. I'm not sick. I feel great. Everybody I know is sick. And now maybe I'm starting to be like, should I be getting sick? Am I manufacturing an illness? I wouldn't put it past me. This show plays out in 4 quarters. And in these 4 quarters, these 4 different segments, I'm going to perform a stream of consciousness. That's an extemporaneous, free-form speech about the day. Why 4 quarters? Because I tend to get lost when I do that. So if I have 4 quarters, I know where I'm going to next. I always know that there is someplace else to get to. The 4 quarters, first, we're going to get into something we call antecedently on this day. Those are all of the events that have helped shape this day. This day in history, if you will. Quarter 2 birthdays, celebrities, notable quotables, historical figures. Give them their due. Or we just tell them to go kick rocks because you suck. It's not, screw you. I don't care if it's your birthday. I don't like you. Quarter 3 is deads. These are people who have died, people who have died. Shout out Jim Carroll. People who have died, we take a look at their life and we're like, what do we know about them? Where do you think they went when they died on this day in that year? Where did they go? Heaven or hell? Quarter 3, we sit in judgment of these fallen heroes, icons, and sometimes nefarious creatures. Quarter 4 is hot topics. That's everything else. Whatever people are talking about. And oh my God, there's so much shit to talk about today. Let's quickly run down some of the topics that we'll be getting into today. Jeez. You know, we're going to talk about Russia. You know, we're going to talk about tariffs. I know we don't do a lot of politics because I hate doing politics, but these are just, you know, current event stories. I'm going to tell you why they're trending. I'm going to give you my hot take on them, and we're going to move on. We're not going to completely brand each other with, you know, this political take or that political take. We're complicated people. We're normal, complicated people. We're talking about SpaceX. I sat around waiting for SpaceX to do their thing, but once again, we ain't good at space yet. So we'll talk about that. Gavin Newsom's getting a whole lot of publicity. He's obviously, you know, he wants to be the new leader of the Dem party. So we'll see. He sat down with Steve Bannon. A whole bunch of people went nuts about that. We'll talk about it. Some kids were arrested in Memphis for doing something that we have all done. All of us. We've all done this. I'll tell you what that is. We're going to get into free agency. Oh, also, I don't know if we even covered this. You know the athlete burglaries that have been going on for the past like 9 months? Joe Burrow, I guess, was playing the Cowboys here in Dallas on Monday Night Football. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, his house was being ransacked by a gang of burglars. Mahomes got robbed. Kelsey got robbed. Mike Conley got robbed. Some other NBA players got robbed. There's a whole thing was going on around the country. All 4 leagues were like, hey, players, be on the lookout. Did you know that case got solved? I didn't. There's a whole Vanity Fair article about it today. So we're going to get into that. We're going to find out exactly what was going on with that nationwide, you know, crime spree being perpetrated against some of our more popular pro athletes. What else do we have? I'm just running through some of the topics. Le'Veon Bell did something. Le'Veon Bell had a bad day. We'll talk about that. NFL free agency. And also I want to talk about a couple of things that we're going to be watching here in the coming weeks. A new show that's debuting that has gotten a 100% Rotten Tomatoes initial review from critics. So, and it's not like 3 critics said they like it. No, it's the show is being widely compared to some of the greats. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about another documentary that is blowing the doors off people's minds. People's minds have doors. Sure, why not? Down there at South by Southwest. We'll check in with South by Southwest. All right, and everything else. We got everything else we're going to talk about. Whole bunch of stuff going on. Russia. We got a whole bunch. All right, what do you say? Who's in the chat room right now? We got Mama B. Mama B's back up and around. We were worried about her. She had some, not serious, but she's up and around in the chat room. Hi, Mama B. Is Jen in here? I don't know. Hi, Jen. Let me say hi to Jen. What else do I need to say? This show, as you know, this show runs on your tips and your gratuities, and every day we like to award the title of executive producer of the show to the person who tipped the biggest on the previous day's show. We have an executive producer today, and for the first time in 3 days, it is not Peter. It is Jeffy. Look at Jeffy. Peter also got in there. I appreciate you, Peter, but Jeff, it's a little, beat you by like a buck or two. Peter has a combined total that we're working off of, but thank you to Jeff and thank you to Peter and thank you to everybody who supports this kind of talk radio. Remember, you can do it. If you like this kind of talk radio, you're tired of what you're hearing on AM, you're tired of all the other nonsense people yelling at you, you like this guy yelling at you. That's me. You can drop a tip, Cash App, Venmo, all that stuff. All right, thank you very much. What do you say, Chuckles? Chuckles Nelson hanging out. Peter says, it's spring when you hear the pigeons cooing outside. Is that a thing? Pigeons cooing? All right. That's beautiful, man. That is a dude. That is Al. That is a dude tuned into his world. He's like, what's fucking cool about this moment? And he's like, pigeons. I can hear the fucking pigeons. It's like Al's tripping. That's like the kind of thing I'd have to trip to really get into. Pigeons, man. Can you hear them? They're so much louder than we actually realize. Jeffy says, don't thank me for being today's executive producer. He says, thank my little deductible. Well, isn't that wonderful? Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, what do you say we get started? Because we got a lot of stuff to get to today. I'm not kidding. We got a big show. Got a whole bunch of stuff. I'm fired up. I got a lot of stuff I got to say. A lot of stuff that needs to be said. Well, probably not, but stuff that I need to get off my chest. All right, let's get started. Welcome to the Rant. I am Pugs Moran. It is the 13th day of March, year of our Lord, 2025. We come to you today from the beautiful Kelly Moore Memorial Studios, high atop the RadioMisfits.com platform in the E-Gallery in Dallas's fantastic design district. Every day, check us, like us, subscribe us, do all that stuff that I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying. Hold on. What are we doing? I just lost my place. All right, yeah. Let's get into the first segment. All right, let's stop dicking around. Here we go. Antecedently on this day, folks. We'll talk about stuff that happened on this day. Antecedently on this day in the year 1639, Harvard College is named after clergyman John Harvard. And he never stopped talking about it. That's a Harvard joke. And it's kind of true. If you meet somebody who went to Harvard, you will know that they went to Harvard within 10 minutes of meeting them. It always happens. You can also apply that. So I'm going to apply it to a couple other schools. Stanford, MIT, Notre Dame, Yale, Princeton. Maybe Columbia, New York. Maybe. I don't know. Those are the ones. Harvard on this day in 1639. On this day in the year 1781. Some of the all right, this is a big one. Yeah, okay, we got to mention this. On this day in 1781, William Herschel, ladies and gentlemen, remember that name. William Herschel discovered Uranus. Doesn't even need a punchline. That's just a joke. On this day, William Herschel discovered Uranus. All right, let's go. And you didn't even have to buy him dinner first. William Herschel. He discovered Uranus. He was a gay prostitute. I don't know. There's a lot of jokes there. The Uranus jokes, they never end. That was on this day in 1781. On this day in 1815, participants at the Congress of Vienna declare Napoleon an outlaw following his escape from Elba. One of the most badass things in history, man. When Napoleon, they couldn't kill him, because he couldn't kill him because it'd be like martyring him, and it would just cause all kinds of problems, and peasants would uprise and all that. So instead of killing Napoleon, they put him on an island, and they were like, "You got to live here forever." And they put some guards on the island, and they're like, "All right, we're gonna pay you guys for the rest of your life to make sure this dude never leaves the island." And in like less than a year, he convinced the guards to now you can be the generals in my new army. And he convinced them, and he left the island. They were like, "Come on, Napoleon, we're no longer guarding you. Now we're your guys. Now we're your generals, and we're going to war." And it worked. It worked. See, because at night, these guards would leave the island of Elba, and they'd go back to their little villages. Some of them anyway. Some of them lived there. But a lot of them, they'd go back to their little villages because they weren't prisoners. But they would go back to their little villages, and they would talk about Napoleon. And they would talk about how he's coming back, and we need to raise an army. And they would raise all of these armies. So when Napoleon left on the boat from Elba and then made shore in France, he was met by an army of people that had risen. Napoleon was a badass. And then on this day in Vienna, all the other people in Europe went, "Let's declare him an outlaw," because they were feckless and cowardly. Antecedently on this day in the year 1930, the news of the discovery of Pluto is announced by the Lowell Observatory in Massachusetts. Pluto, not quite as funny as Uranus. Pluto, it's not even a thing anymore, right? Now, look, I grew up in a world where we recognized Pluto as a planet. I was educated in the late 70s and early 80s, 70s and 80s. Pluto was a planet. Apparently, it's not a planet anymore, okay? Just another look. And I mention this because you see, folks, there are a lot of little things when you get older. There's a lot of little things that change, a lot of little things that you considered institutions. Yes, I considered the planets, as they were taught to me in school, to be a rock-solid institution of knowledge. That's a fact. We had these planets. Then all of a sudden I turn like 30 and there's a news break that Pluto's no longer a planet. And I'm like, what does it all fucking mean? It's all a fucking construct. Nothing is real. Pluto's a planet. No, it's not. It's not a planet anymore. What? Is the Atlantic no longer an ocean? Are we just going to do that too? We change things. Things change. And as you get older, you just got to kind of accept that the new people who are in charge now, I think that's the hardest part. Recognizing you're not in charge anymore. 55-year-old, I'm not in charge of nothing anymore, okay? You know who's in charge of that shit? 35-year-olds. 35-year-olds determine everything. They're in charge of everything. Whatever the fuck is happening next, it's going to be because of the 35-year-olds. So we got to recognize that we are no longer in charge. And the people that are in charge now think that Pluto's not a planet. So what are we going to do? We're going to fight that war? They're younger, they're faster, they're stronger. We're old, we're tired. One by one, things change. We just got to accept them. We just got to accept them. We got to go, yeah, that's how they're doing it now. And by the way, don't think that you're particularly interesting for offering the commentary of these kids today. You're not original, okay? Every single buddy, every person that got to be your age said, kids today. It's nonsense. Kids always change what is the expected norm, and people in their middle age have a problem with it. And that's why kids today, it's not new. You're not original. You're not interesting. Same with the good old days. Do you realize that there was never a point in human history where a dude bumped into another dude on the street and said, you know what? These are the good old days. These are the days when everything is perfect. This is how I want it to stay forever. That has never happened. Do you know what phrase has always existed? Hell in a bucket. The world is going to hell in a bucket. It was 1890. The world was going to hell in a bucket. 1950, the world was going to hell in a bucket. Okay, it's all a construct. So stop letting it determine how you feel from moment to moment. Let's just all be cool. I don't know how we got there, but that's what a stream of consciousness does. I just start spinning. I just start talking. Antecedently on this day in the year, Pluto's a planet. Okay, let's just end with that. I know it's not a planet, but to me, it's always going to be a planet. On this day in 1930, it was discovered and named a planet. On this day in 1996, oh God, really? I go from something as stupid as that rant to having to talk about this? The Dunblane Massacre occurred on this day. That's a day in 1996 when some asshole walked into a school in Scotland and killed all the kids. Scotland, Dunblane Massacre. Only in America? No, come on, man. These things have been happening around the world. Crazy people get access to guns all over the world to kill a bunch of kids. I don't care if it's happening in Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, some school full of girls in Africa, Dunblane, Scotland, or Uvalde, Texas. It doesn't matter. This is just fucking people, okay? It's not a uniquely American phenomenon. What is uniquely American is our response to these things. Our response, uniquely American, is feckless and cowardly. Because what did they do in England? What did they do in the United Kingdom in 1996 after some fuckstick walked into a Scottish school and killed a whole bunch of little kids? They outlawed guns. That's what they did. They fucking took the guns away from them. Now, I know that's not an option here in the United States because we're different. We don't have a monarchy. We have been raised on, a belief in Jefferson and Adams, at least until recently we did. We believe in the articles of the Constitution. We believe in these things that these men got together and decided upon. And I don't have that over there, so they can just take your guns. So that ain't happening here. But still, the response has been just to gun violence. In England, a bunch of Scottish kids get shot and killed in a school. The next day, Parliament acts decisively, and they don't really have that anymore. Oh, but they got knife attacks. Yeah, and they got a lot less body counts, too. Knife attacks. I'll take them. Fucking, you don't think a parent of a kid who went to Robb Elementary in Uvalde would have killed for that to have been a knife attack? Hell yeah. Stop it with that argument. This is so stupid. But they got knife attacks. Okay, dummy. Move along. You're not qualified to engage in this conversation with normal, logical people. Knife attacks! Okay. Let's see here. On this day in 2013, we had a papal conclave. I was really hoping, I just saw the movie Conclave. It was great. It's a great movie. Just saw the movie. I was hoping. We were not hoping. Wait, you know what I mean? I thought the Pope was going to die. We thought Pope Frank was going to die. Boot and rally. I'm telling you, that old dog, it's hard to keep him down. He's up. He's around. Actually, I don't know. I think he's skateboarding through the hallways of Grimmel Hospital there in Italy. He's the cool Pope. I wouldn't put it past him. At least he's on one of those scooters. Maybe a Segway. Pope's got a Segway. That's what I bet. But he's got a Segway. Anyway, it was on this day in 2013 that the papal conclave elects Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio. He took the name of Pope Francis. He became Pope on this day. Happy anniversary, Pope Frank. Boot and rally, brother. Let's go. You can live to be 140. Let's do it. That'd be spooky, wouldn't it? The Pope, that's spooky. I think a lot of people would become Catholics. I think they'd be like, wait a second. Antecedently on this day in the year 2020, President Donald Trump declares the COVID-19 pandemic to be a national emergency in the United States. Never mind. Don't even want to go into it. The confusion surrounding this. I mean, make no mistake that Trump, took it very seriously, COVID. And then he couldn't control his crazies online. And his crazies online went out there and pissed in the well. And everybody thought it was a conspiracy or it wasn't real. Remember that? COVID's not real. That was like, you did 6 months of that, you people. COVID's not real. But Trump's out there going, I'm the greatest president for getting this vaccine. And then he does it. And that is the single greatest accomplishment, in my opinion, of the first Trump, that he showed that in an emergency, he could do something. We got that vaccine quick. But then again, the crazies that were all online who support him were telling the other supporters, no, don't take it. It's not good. And yet he's there going, look at how great I am. Look at what I did. You guys got to do this. And they're all like, no, it's poison. The confusion surrounding this whole thing was insane. Misinformation, man. Misinformation just gets people going in all directions. So I don't know. All right, here we are 5 years later. COVID was fucking real, stupids. Okay, it was real. A bunch of people got sick. I don't know about all the other shit, okay? But it was real, okay? And it probably came from a Chinese lab. I absolutely believe that. And you people who in the very beginning you people on the left caused a lot of these problems. It's pretty much clear where COVID began, okay? Now, we don't know if it was intentional and all that. That'll be the speculation of conspiracy theorists for decades to come. But we do pretty much know where it came from. How it got out, we don't know. But in the beginning, you people just completely pushing back on the fact that it came from a Chinese lab because you didn't like that it seemed like it was mean to Chinese people. Fuck you. You fucking idiots. Ugh. Good Lord. We know where it came from. We know it was real, okay? It came from China in a lab, the Wuhan lab. Now, I know that that's hard for a lot of people on the left to take because the first people who broke that was probably InfoWars. But guess what? Sometimes even a blind squirrel gets a nut. I don't even know if it was InfoWars. I don't know. Probably, I don't know, whatever it was. But people were like, no, that's not true. And it's like, well, why couldn't it be true? We don't know what's happening here. Why are you ruling things? So that was a big problem. That added to the confusion. But also, the right is who really confused this fucking thing up. And 5 years later, looking back at it, take the vaccine, don't take the vaccine. Trump gave you the vaccine. He's very proud of it, but you love Trump. He does everything great, but the vaccine is the evilest thing man ever perpetrated. I don't get it. We were all over the road. There was no intellectual consistency in any of this shit. Yeah, fucking people taking experimental animal drugs and all that, and that's fine. I took it. I didn't die. Okay, good. You didn't die, but I don't know if it did anything to combat, what you were taking it for. I don't know. Ivermectin's a miracle drug. Okay, maybe. I don't know. Let's do some testing. I don't know. See, I don't know. And you don't either. But you are really certain that this is the thing that's going to cause, COVID and future pandemics to never exist. I'm like, okay, shut up, pipe down. Let's let the doctors. I don't know. It was such a mess, man. We showed who we are. When the shit gets bad, we showed who we are as people. We divide ourselves. We fucking hate each other. We ain't going to be good when that asteroid approaches. When that asteroid starts coming and they're like, all right, 2 weeks, we're all going to be dead. We're going to suck for those 2 weeks. It ain't going to be cool. Sure shit ain't going to be Christian. We're going to fucking suck. Don't have a lot of faith in humans. I have a lot of faith in you, the chat room, because you guys are the best. You know that. You're always there for me to kiss up after I just rant about how everybody sucks. All right, let's keep going. That was on this day in 2020, President Trump declared COVID a pandemic. And I'm not even sure the president has the power to do that. The president can't declare something a pandemic. It's like, health organizations, the CDC, World Health, that kind of thing. They do that. The president doesn't just stand up. He can't declare an NBA champion. The president has declared the Indiana Pacers the NBA champion. Well, the president can't declare something. Anyway, he did. On this day, President Donald Trump declares the COVID-19 pandemic to be a national emergency. Yeah, that he can do. That he can do. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I stand. Look, that's true. He was very serious. It was a national emergency. I don't know about how we all reacted, right? Like the draconian shut everything down. I don't think we would have needed to shut everything down for as long as we did if everybody would have just taken the vaccine. But, people die, I don't know. And here's the thing that sucks, though. Everybody that dies now, there's some asshole going, take the vaccine. Shut up. People died all the time before. People die. Guys, you know who else has died? Lots in the 5 years since the pandemic. You know who's died? Lots of people who didn't take the vaccine. They died too. Some of them heart attacks and, just like, people fucking die mysteriously all the time. Doesn't mean that it's some, alien lizard people's plan to enslave us by getting us all sick and then taking a vaccine that we become dependent on. Yeah, that's like the crazy shit you people were talking about. These are just doctors. Just doctors who make money being dorks and knowing shit the rest of us don't know. I went to a lot of parties in college. You know who didn't? My doctor. My doctor did not go to a lot of parties in college. I didn't see him at any of the parties. All right, that's going to do it. Let's talk about some birthdays. Let's move on to birthdays. These are people celebrating their birth. on this day. All right, here we go. Let's talk about some birthdays. Born on this day in 1911, L. Ron Hubbard. He's a weirdo, right? I mean, he's a science fiction writer who started a religion. I mean, this guy's like one of the great cons of all time. If he was alive, if he was born like 40 years later, he'd be president. Seriously, L. Ron Howard would be president. L. Ron Howard, born on this day in 1911. Born on this day in 1913. Here's a fucking scary ass spook. This is a bad son of a bitch. When you talk about the deep state, when you talk about, and I'm not, look, I understand. I just hate the way that term deep state is used, but there's absolutely something that actually exists that could fit what a lot of crazies call the deep state. I mean, there is a situation here of people and puppet masters and all that. This is one of the great lizard people leaders in American history, William H. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my God, it's 2 names in a row. Oh my God. 1913, born on this day, one of the great spooks in American history, William J. Casey. Bill Casey. Bill Casey was director of the CIA under Reagan during all of the, Bill Casey. Bill Casey's the guy who invented crack and gave it to poor people in South Central. That's him. He's the guy that like funded all of these revolutions in Central America, and then was like, nope. He's the guy that was, involved in the whole Iran-Contra, and we're not giving arms to fund anti-communist forces in El Salvador. That's him. He did all that shit. William Casey, born on this day in 1913. Woo-hoo-hoo. That dude's evil. Born on this day in 1950, not to be confused with William J. Casey. How about William H. Macy? Isn't that weird? William J. Casey and William H. Macy, both born on the same day, 1950. William H. Macy, we like him. He's a good actor. He's Frank from Shameless. He's so funny in Shameless. He's good in everything. William H. Macy's good in everything. Let's just move on. William H. Macy, good guy. Right into him. They were shooting Shameless in Chicago. And I was in a Walgreens store. And William H. Macy was there. He was there in the Walgreens. He was buying a Gatorade. I made a note of that. He bought a Gatorade, and he was standing in line, and I was standing right behind him, and he was dressed in full-blown Frank Gallagher outfit. If you're familiar with Shameless, he was dressed. They were filming right around the corner, and they were taking a break, and he was dressed as Frank Gallagher. And he's standing there in line in front of me, and I say, I really love your work because I'm a dork. And he turned around, and he said, thanks, man. Thank you. And he turned around, and that was it. Hey, I didn't ask him for a photo. It was just, he was nice. Turned around, he said, thank you. I'm like, it's fucking Frank Gallagher. Yeah. All right, William H. Macy, born on this day in 1950. Born on this day in 1960. How about the least known member of one of the world's most famous bands, Adam Clayton? Adam Clayton, English, Irish musician and songwriter. He is the bass player in U2. He is the one guy in U2 that could go missing. And nobody would be like, yeah, it's not as good with the new bass player. Nobody would say that. Nobody would care. Adam Clayton, born on this day in 1960. Born on this day in 1972, a handsome man whose job, I think, Common is I think he's a hip hop guy. I don't know. I'm not really. It's not my thing. I think he's like a hip hop guy. And I think he's like got some notoriety as being like deep. Is that a thing? Is he like a deep soul brother kind of a thing? I don't know him from that. I know him as an actor. He's an actor in a whole bunch of shit. He's in one of my new favorite shows, Silo, on Apple TV. He plays like the main. I don't know if he's a bad guy. Maybe he's a good guy. We'll see. We'll see how that shakes out. I like Common. He's handsome. He wears turtlenecks. And this is what's so funny about Common. Common has a uniform. Common's a handsome, black, middle-aged man who is dyeing his hair now because his shit's got to be going gray. But he's got like really tight. He's handsome. He's got like tight hair and he's got like a really tight beard. But he also has a uniform. It is a black, super tight turtleneck shirt with a brown, like your dog has diarrhea brown, like kind of a yellow brown, like a light brown leather jacket with a gold chain. That's his look. He wears that everywhere. Leather jacket, turtleneck. Leather jacket, turtleneck. That's his uniform, Common. And it's funny because he stars in the show Silo, which is a dystopian, the world has ended. We're all living in a silo underground kind of thing. And it's set in the future. And he wears a turtleneck and a black leather jacket. I wonder if it's in his contract. All right, that's great. He'll do the show, but he can only wear a black turtleneck and a brown leather jacket. Cool. But this is a pirate movie. He's going to play a pirate. He's got a Common can only wear a turtleneck, gold chain. It's like Tony Danza. Did you know Tony Danza had it in his contract that all of his characters' names had to be changed to Tony? Yeah, you know why? Because in the show Taxi, where his name was Bobby, Tony Danza in Taxi played a character named Bobby. He wasn't an actor. He was a boxer, and he didn't really hear his cues, and he never responded when they said, hey, Bobby, what do you think? Because his name was Tony. So from that point forward, every character that he ever played in everything all the time was named Tony. It was just a little thing. Dancer. Seems like, are we here? Are we on? I think we just had an internet disruption. Trying to figure it out. Let me know how we are. Let's see, does this work now? Yeah, there we go. Okay, I think we're back up and I think we're working. All right, let's do a birthday here. Born on this day. What year? Born on this day in 1976. Denny Masterson. Yeah, it's Hyde from that 70s show. This is the first sentence of his Wikipedia bio, and this is not a sentence that you want. It's the first thing that people know about you. Daniel Peter Masterson, born March 13th, 1976, is an American actor and convicted rapist. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, that's not good. You don't want that. Danny Masterson, Hyde, convicted rapist, in jail forever. You're like, I'm like, do I have thoughts on that? I think he did it, right? I think I remember when that suit was going on, that lawsuit, it wasn't a lawsuit, that criminal case. It was a rape case. I think I remember when his rape case was going on. I think I was like, yeah, man, this guy sucks. Like, I don't know. Again, this is ignorance, but whatever. That's what you tune in for, right? So I don't think that he rapist is okay. You know what? What did he do? Did he drug hot girls that were partying with him with a TV star? Is that it? Let's party with the TV star in the hot tub. Let's do drugs. And then they did drugs, and then he dosed them, and then he had sex with them, which is rape. But that's not, a ski mask kicking in somebody's door in the middle of the night, and you know what I mean, with a knife to her. But he's still, he's still a piece of shit. I mean, they caught him. I don't know where I'm going with this. He's not a good guy. I'm just trying to work through this intellectually to try and, I liked Hyde. I thought Hyde was funny. Hyde was great on that 70s show. An actor. Separate the art from the artist, I guess. I guess. All right. Born on this day in 1998, Jack Harlow. He was really big like 9 months ago. Like a year ago, maybe. Jack Harlow. I haven't heard his name since he hosted Saturday Night Live. So I don't know if he's an actor. I don't know if he's a singer. He's like a good-looking white kid who looks like he could be an NSYNC, but isn't he a rapper? I don't know. Jack Harlow. The name It's not a rap name. When did you kids start changing rap names into normal everyday names you could pull out of the phone book? You know, what happened to Q-Tip? You know? Why we got Jack Harlow? Man, that sounds rakish. If anything, that sounds like a guy, you know, Jack Harlow. Sounds like a soap opera dude. All right, moving on. That's going to be your birthdays. Jack Harlow, born on this day in 1998. Let's do the deads and decide who went to heaven and who went to hell. Here we go with the deads. Let's do it. All right. Dead on this day in 1901, Benjamin Harrison, a spare president, to be sure. It is interesting, though, Benjamin Harrison, president. He died in 1901. He's one of them dudes that I would not have been able to accurately, I mean, I'd have to really think about it. Like if you said, what year did he die? I'd have been like, I don't know, 1794. I would have been way off. Like, really? 1901? So he was around for like baseball? Like he might have seen the Yankees play? I don't know. Anyway, okay. Benjamin Harrison. Hell, went to hell. He's a president. He's a spare president. He might have done some shit, but I don't really care enough to look into it. Born on this day or dead on this day in 1906. Susan B. Anthony. Susan B. Anthony. American activist. Not a suffragette, right? Was she a suffragette, or did the suffragettes come later? Susan B. Anthony was a woman's rights leader. She back when it meant something to be a woman's rights leader. All right, Gloria Steinem, with your crush your heart bras and your tight sweaters, standing there in front of a crowd in Central Park. Hey, screw you. Fucking Susan B. Anthony used to get beaten with sticks by dudes just for having an opinion. Please. You want to really honor the women of the women's movement, and you got to go all the way back in time when there was skin in the game. Seriously. You know what happened to a mouthy woman back in 1880? You know what happened to her? Well, that's when Susan B. Anthony was out there being a mouthy woman. How did we reward her? We gave her a silver dollar. We said we are going to make her super famous. People need to know she was. This is like back in the late 70s. We're gonna make her super famous. We're gonna put her on a silver dollar. That's how important Susan B. Anthony is. And then they made that silver dollar in the exact same shape and size as a quarter. And became a big problem for people because people would have a couple of Susan B. Anthony silver dollars in their pocket and they would think they were quarters and they would pop them into the soda machine and they're paying 4 times the price of a soda because that Susan B. Anthony worked like a quarter. Yeah, it was bad. And they took it away and then they never brought anything back for her. So you know what? There you go. Hey, Susan B., we tried. We weren't going to give you a silver dollar the size of a real silver dollar. Hell, we weren't even going to give you a silver dollar the size of a Kennedy half dollar. Your silver dollar, lady, is going to be the size of a weirdly shaped quarter. That's what we're doing for you, Susan B. Anthony. Dead on this day in 1906. We're putting her in heaven because, again, do you know what a mouthy woman went through in 1880? You got to believe she was a mouthy woman. Dead on this day in 1906. Dead on this day in 2021. How about Marvelous Marvin Hagler? American professional boxer, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Now, the big fights back in the day when I was a kid was Hagler-Hearns. Tommy Hearns, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And I like Tommy Hearns. For some reason, I did not take to Marvelous Marvin Hagler. I found his bravado off-putting as a 10-year-old. Tommy Hearns, it turns out, Tommy Hearns was a piece of crap. Tommy Hearns was like not a good human. Like, I guess Tommy Hearns did some bad stuff. And Marvelous Marvin Hagler didn't. I was looking at Marvelous Marvin Hagler's legacy and bio and all that stuff, when I saw this pop up on the deaths today. And I was like, surely there's got to be a situation where he was arrested for punching a woman in the face, right? Surely. No, nothing like that. And he seemed to be married. Here, let's go to his personal life. Marvelous Marvin Hagler seemed to be like a happily married guy. Personal life. All right, here we go. Let's see. Personal life. Hagler had 5 children with his first wife, Bertha. 5 children. He said, leave me alone. I'm a family man. Although he owned a home in Bartlett, New Hampshire, Hagler lived in Milan, Italy. Look at him, just fucking enjoying being 80-year-old Marvelous Marvin Hagler. I don't even know if he was 80. Let's see here. His first wife died. Okay, that's all right. And then he married his second wife, Kay, an Italian woman in Italy. He's a good guy. I think I had Marvelous Marvin Hagler wrong. I think I should have been a fan of Marvelous Marvin Hagler and not Tommy Hearns. Was it Tommy Machine Gun Hearns? I don't know. Boxing was great back then, you guys. If you guys don't remember boxing between like 1977 and like 1987, I mean, from like the tail end of Ali's last comeback, like if you go professional boxing in America, you start. Let's start with. That's too early. I was gonna say Rumble in the Jumble. Let's start with like Ali Foreman, right? Let's start with that. Let's start with Ali Foreman as our jumping off point, and then let's go all the way to Mike Tyson winning the title in like 87. So that's like a 10-year period. Boxing was so good then, you guys. I mean, it was Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, and these aren't even heavyweights. We're not even talking about George Foreman, Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali kicking around. It was cool. It was a cool era for boxing. It was on TV every weekend. ABC Wide World of Sports would take you to some smoker in Atlantic City where you'd get to see like a real heavyweight. It was cool, man. And then, of course, money came in and ruined the sport because everything went pay-per-view and there was only one fight a year that you're interested in. Anyway, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. I'm going to put him in heaven because he seems like I misunderstood him. Dead on this day in 2021. Dead on this day in 2022. How about William Hurt? William Hurt, an actor. William Hurt, the star of one of my favorite movies of all time, a film that I have to watch every couple of years. I love this movie. It's called Broadcast News. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's from the late 80s. James L. Brooks, the great James L. Brooks. Broadcast News. It was about network news and the way it was in the late 80s. It was great. William Hurt was the star of it. William Hurt, Albert Brooks, Holly Hunter, Joan Cusack, a lot of great people. Jack Nicholson. Really a lot of great people in Broadcast News. William Hurt was the star, was the main star. And I loved William Hurt. I thought William Hurt was like he's a gentleman, soft-spoken, very erudite, sophisticated, right? William Hurt. No, William Hurt in real life was a fucking chronic girl abuser who basically after his death, all of these stories from his ex-wives and girlfriends came out talking about what a drunken maniac he was. So yeah, William Hurt can go to hell. It's crazy. He was like such a calm, sophisticated, leading man. Here, let's see what's marriages and relationship, domestic violence allegations. All right, let's go with here. Let's see. Hurt's girlfriend, Sandra Jennings, sued Hurt in New York seeking recognition of their relationship as common law marriage under South Carolina law. The New York court held that the relationship between Hurt and Jennings did not qualify as a common law marriage. Oh, who cares? In her 2009 autobiography, I'll Scream Later, Marlee Matlin said that her relationship with Hurt involved drug use and physical violence, including rape. Marlee Matlin, he's raping a deaf girl. Weirdo. In response to the accusations, Hurt's agent declined to respond. Let's see. In a 2022 essay for Variety after Hurt died, Donna Katz wrote about dating Hurt in her 20s from 77 to 80. She accused Hurt of domestic abuse and violence. And anyway, he's apparently, all these people are like, yeah, he was a dick. He was a complete jerk. He was a drunk and he smacked women around. So fuck you, William Hurt. I don't care if I liked you. You gotta go. You gotta go. All right, guys, that's gonna do it. We're good. Those are the first 3 quarters in the books. What is Al going on about? What's going on, Al? What are you saying? Al just put a lengthy thing in the chat room. Let's investigate. Al says, man sustained a gunshot wound when his dog accidentally fired a gun by jumping on the bed this week in Memphis, police said. Apparently, Al doesn't listen to the show every day. Al, we talked about that yesterday. Remember? I ranted about how pit bulls get a really bad rep and that this isn't good for pit bulls, that this dog happened to be a pit bull. We covered that, Al. Covered that yesterday. See, here's the thing about this show. And I see it all the time. I see it daily. When news breaks on legitimate other sources, I use a lot of really cool aggregator and news gathering sources to find stories that I think are interesting. And a lot of times I will find a story and I'll be like, oh, this is interesting. And I'll do it on the show. And then a day later or 2 days later, that's when CNN is breaking news. And I'm I'm a day ahead on most of these stories. Some of these stories I sit on, some of them I'm I don't know, is this going to be a story? Because I'm not sure how to play it. So I'll put it aside and it'll sit on the bottom of my little rundown sheet for a couple of days. And then I'll notice, holy shit, that story's becoming a big story now. A good example of that was the guy who got fired from the coffee restaurant for saying that he was straight. He's like, I'm a straight guy and they fired me because they only want gay guys. We talked about that yesterday. I had that story a week ago. I mean, Saturday Night Live did that story over the weekend, but then it started circulating again on Monday. So why not? We'll do it. But yes, Al, we covered the story of the dog that accidentally shot the responsible gun owner who was sleeping with his gun. Mama B has an update for us if we're worried about her whereabouts. She says, keep getting interrupted. She'll be back later. All right. That's fine. Let's get into some stuff. What do you say? Let's talk about today. All right. Let's see. Before that, let me do this one more time because this really does mean a lot to me and I really do appreciate it. Jeff is one of my favorite people and I know he's a working man, salt of the earth type out there in the cornfields of Iowa. Jeff is our executive producer of the day. It means a lot to me because here's how I feel about this show. I know who my boys are. I know, and by boys, I mean guys and girls. I know who we are. We're all a bunch of working class, normal, middle American types. The fucking economy is fucking with us, right? I mean, we're now bargain shopping at the grocery store. That's who we are. And when I say I need tips, I understand that a lot of people are going to be tuning in every day and they're never going to tip, and that's fine because I get it. Because you know what? I couldn't tip. There are shows that I watch that I can't tip. And I'm okay with that. You know why? Because there are a few. I know that there's a few of us out here who are well off. There are a couple of people who can carry the load, who do tune in every day. And you know what? Thankfully, those people do step up regularly. So don't ever feel like, oh, I need to be quiet in the chat room because I'm not tipping or anything like that. Please don't ever feel that way. Trust me. The people who can and understand that this might be an expensive thing to support every month, they like it. And maybe it's worth it to them. Maybe the people who drop $50 a month, maybe it's worth it to them. And if you can't do it, that's fucking great. That's no problem, man. Don't ever feel bad about that. So thank you. And so when a working man like Jeff, who I know, I'm aware of his family situation and what's going on and how hard he works, how hard they all work. When a guy like Jeff drops something, or a guy like Peter is able to drop a little bit every day, that means a lot to me. So thank you, guys. Thank you. All right. But we could use a couple of rich people. You know what I mean? Like a couple of rich people that's like, you know what? I'm so filthy rich. I'm going to drop $1,000 a month and he's going to not ever have to ask for money. You know, that would be nice to get one of those every now and again. We don't, but that's okay. We're good. But thank you to Jeff. And also to anybody else that wants to help out, there you go. We'll leave that up. Okay. Jeff has a theory, though, on the story we did talk about yesterday that Al brought back, the story of the guy who his dog jumped up on the bed and supposedly the dog shot him. Jeff's got a theory. He said dude was using the dog as a cover story. His girlfriend left with the gun before the cops arrived. She shot him. Maybe. Maybe. Baby, you shot me. Where were you last night? You know, something like that. And then she calms down and he's like, all right, it's just a flesh wound. We're going to need to call the police, but you're going to get in trouble. Why don't you just leave? I'll blame it on the dog. And it worked. Look, here I am doing a stream in North Texas. We talked about it yesterday. 24 hours later, we got Al. Al's talking about it. Jeff's got a theory on it. That's how this stuff works. Al says, if I won the lottery, I'd give you $1,000 a month. And I know you would, Al. I know you fucking would. That's awesome. I know you would, and that's enough. I mean, not literally enough, because the actual 1,000 would be great. But thank you. You know what I mean? You could look at it as an advertisement, you know? You can start doing that. I can start selling live reads for $50. All right, there you go. That's it. That's what we make with live reads. I'll sell the first person to tip $50. I will give a 1-minute live read on how awesome that person is. I'll just be like, hey, let me tell you something about I don't know, like Mama B or something. Let me tell you something about Mama B. This lady, you know, I can do that for a minute. We'll treat it like live reads, like you're an advertiser. There you go. That could work. Anyway, I'm not worried about it because we've got a couple of weeks now before we got to get to the next pledge week, and you people are awesome. We're here to fight another month of battles. So we're good. We're good. All right, let's start talking. Oh, God, I got to do this again, right? Because this is an evolving story. All right, so here we go. Hot topics, things that are happening. Okay. Oh, my God, no. All right. Stock market's in the shitter again, third straight day. Now we're at 40. Our cumulative total for the stock market was 41, I think 41.8 when the slide started. It took us like 2 days of like monumental losses just to get below 40. That's where we are. We're at 40. We're cuming at 4780 on the Dow Jones right now. That's good. That number's really good. Like if you were to tell a dude 10 years ago that the stock market in 2025 would be at 4780, they'd be like, where do I invest? Where should I go? Are we talking tech? What's driving this? So that's great. What's not great is that it's currently down 600 points, 570, but I rounded up. Stock market is down 600 points. It was down 1,000 points 2 days ago. I think it ended yesterday 400 points down, maybe less. I don't know. It was really chaotic yesterday. Anyway, the big money people aren't losing any money. You know who's losing money? You and me. The regular, the little penny stock guy who's trying to just make a little extra every month. Yeah, they're getting fucked. They are getting hammered by this. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can go other places. Here's what you can do. You can go somewhere else if you want any more or precise breakdown on what's happening with the stock market. But there you go. Stock market's falling apart. How about Canadian tariffs? Get into this again? Oh, my God. Do you see how confusing this is? Because it's like Monday, tariffs on Canada. Tuesday, no tariffs on Canada. Wednesday, new tariffs on Canada. Thursday, Canada's now responding. So Canada's like, we don't know what you guys are going to do from one moment to the next as far as, these tariffs that you're putting on. Canada will now impose retaliatory tariffs on U.S. imported goods worth $29.8 billion. This goes into effect on Thursday. This is in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's steel and aluminum tariffs. Canada's Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc said. Trump's increased tariffs on steel and aluminum imports took effect on Wednesday as prior exemptions, duty-free quotas, and product exclusions expired. And as his campaign to reorder global trade norms in favor, I don't even know if that's a fucking piece of shit sentence that this newspaper wrote. Trump's increased tariffs on steel and aluminum imports took effect Wednesday as prior exemptions, duty-free quotas, and product exclusions expired. And as his campaign to reorder global trade norms in favor doesn't make fucking sense. But you gotta rely on AI editing now. AI, that's who's editing and looking for mistakes like that. There's entire words missing. So Canada's doing a thing. Canada's doing a thing. All right, now let's talk about Russia. All right, Russia. Russia's doing a thing. Well, what is Russia doing? Russia's doing what absolutely everybody said Russia was going to do, except for Trump, who was like, no, they're good. No, Putin's my buddy. Let's work through this. All right, so let's talk about the Ukraine-Russia situation. Trump comes into office. I'm going to make peace. Trump gets, they work out a deal, right? Okay. All of a sudden, the United States is like, hey, in exchange for all of this support, you're going to give us mineral rights in your country. Okay. And at first they were like, what? No. But then negotiation. Okay, fine. Mineral rights agreed to. Zelensky gets on a plane. He comes to Washington. They're going to sign this deal and everything's going to be fine. But no, the president of the United States, who produces his administration like a television show, decided that he was going to make something that was going to steal the headlines and control the conversation for the next 4 days. And it was also going to show how tough and badass he is and how he doesn't like, that whole thing. So he blows up the meeting where it was supposed to be signed, this deal. Now, in this meeting, Zelensky said, look, let's just be honest, though. We can't count on Putin to abide by any of this shit. To which everybody went, you're just hating on Putin. Oh, he's the good guy. You're the bad guy. Get out of this house. They did that. And Zelensky's like, dude, I've been working with this guy for years. He's my neighbor. He's an asshole. You think he's going to agree to this? Fine. Fuck. Whatever. So Trump takes a victory lap. Look at how I was mean to the little nerd. He does that. Zelensky, meanwhile, goes over to Europe, and they're all like, whatever you need, motherfucker. Whatever you need. Yeah, we don't know what that was over there in America. But we here in Europe, we're basically like, you know what? Fuck those people. We can't be dealing with them. We can't rely on them anymore. We're going to start rearming. So then that all gets kind of crazy, and Trump decides he's going to send his envoys to the Middle East, and they're going to have these sort of not very public, but not secret either, meetings between the Ukrainians and Zelensky and, the U.S. envoys. That was just a couple of days ago. And guess what happened? The deal that he flew to Washington to sign finally got signed because there weren't cameras and it wasn't an opportunity for a big, stupid TV show. So the deal got done. Ceasefire. Hey! Trump people put out press releases. Look, it worked. Trump got the ceasefire. Meanwhile, everybody else is like, you could have had the ceasefire 2 weeks ago. He blew up the meeting where the ceasefire was about to be signed 2 weeks ago. All right. So now the ball is in Russia's court. They're like, Russia, I'm sure they want peace and all this shit. So what happens? Like 10 hours later, Russia carpet bombs Kharkiv and Kiev. Russia is signaling, what, did they not hear about the ceasefire that was on the table? That maybe they should tap the brakes and come here and negotiate, right? Did Russia not get that message? No, they got the fucking message. And then Putin went on Russian TV for 2 days straight wearing nothing but military garb. Military garb. Putin doesn't wear military garb. Putin shows up on TV as a statesman. He wears a suit. He wears a tie. Putin isn't looking for a ceasefire. Putin's showing up. He's like bombing Kharkiv. They're like, ceasefire, fuck that, bomb them. So now the White House is in a panic because I don't know if the White House actually thought that Putin could be trusted. Like Trump was like, no, seriously, I think I can get him to agree to this ceasefire. Zelensky's going to be the hard one. And Zelensky's like, no, dude. Putin's the hard one. Putin's not going to agree to anything. Putin wants my whole fucking country. What don't you get? So now here we are. Here we are in a segment that I am calling fucking Russia. God damn it. So Putin has chimed in now. It's official. Putin's like, yeah, no, fuck you, the ceasefire. Fuck the ceasefire. So Zelensky was fucking right? But for some reason, our president was like, no, you got them all wrong. So Putin's saying, fuck the ceasefire. Putin says that he supports the idea of a peace deal. He supports the idea of it, but wants it to lead to a long-term settlement of the root causes of his invasion of Ukraine. His invasion. Putin is now mocking Trump on the world stage. Putin's like, yeah, my invasion. Yeah, I want to make sure everybody knows I fucking invaded. Meanwhile, the president's over here going, Ukraine should have never invaded Russia. What the fuck is that? Putin's like, yeah, we invaded them. Yeah, but what you going to do about it? These fucking guys, they ain't doing anything. We're just going to fucking keep fugging our way through Eastern Europe. And the rest of Europe knows this. But for some reason, we ain't doing shit. So Putin's parading around in military garb. He's building up his arsenal. He's bombing the fuck out of Kiev, the capital, within 10 hours of a ceasefire agreement or a proposed ceasefire agreement. Here's the best part. So the White House is trying to get Putin on the phone today. The White House is like, we got to get a conversation between Putin and Trump. Trump's got to get... Putin won't take his fucking calls. Putin will not take Trump's calls. That's who we are. Putin's fucking ghosting us. And our guy's like, oh, please pick up. The fuck, man? Who are we? Hold on. Let me get the story. All right, here's the story. It's just me ranting. Excuse me. What is this? Okay, what's this? Okay, so this is the Kremlin spokesperson responding to the peace deal. Just so that you don't think I'm just fucking pugs talking shit because I'm a well-known guy who doesn't trust Russia. No, this is the Kremlin motherfucking spokesperson. Okay, here we go.
Регулярные телефонные контакты с Майком Уолтсом.
Mike Waltz is Trump's negotiator.
И вчера он мне позвонил и проинформировал об основных итогах переговоров с украинской делегацией в Джиде. Я, естественно, прокомментировал достигнутую договоренность о временном перемирии.
Can you guys read this? I don't know, because what he's saying is he talked to Waltz yesterday after the ceasefire agreement between Zelensky and the United States. Again, the United States is not involved in this, so whether or not they're going to stop bombing, what the fuck? The peace deal has to be between. So this was never a deal. It was just Trump saying, look, if this is what I can get Putin to agree to, will you agree to it? And Zelensky's like, yeah, I'll agree to it. This is Putin's people saying, we ain't agreeing to that shit. Fuck you. We want Ukraine. That's our country. Ceasefire. Our position on the fact that this is nothing more than a temporary respite to the Ukrainian military and nothing more. So basically the Russian response is, yeah, we're not going to do a ceasefire so that they can catch their breath. We're going to fucking pound them harder now. That's what's going on here. And that's what everyone else in the world knows, except for our president. It was like, nah, it's terrible. It's terrible. Ungodly what's going on here. All right. Fucking Russia. That segment has concluded. Fucking Russia. What else do we have? Let's see. Oh, how about this? Did you see this? This is, oh my God. Okay, so this is a fun story that we can all laugh at and we can all feel good about destroying some random person's life, because make no mistake, this person's life sucks right now and it probably will for the foreseeable future. But it is also an example of why I fucking don't trust CNN. I mean, I know that there are a lot of reasons you people are like, yeah, here's why you shouldn't trust CNN. Nah, CNN, look, I have very specific reasons I don't trust CNN. Shit like this. This was a gotcha story. This story has honestly no real relevance to anything that's happening other than to embarrass somebody associated with Doge. That's what this is. That's all this is. CNN, ooh, they got a big scoop, right? CNN's got this big scoop. An influencer. Here, well, we'll show you the story. Actually, you know what? I'll read you the story and then we'll watch a little bit of it. Okay. So one of Elon Musk's Doge influencers, who is Doge workers, who's in charge of firing everybody, CNN found out that during office hours, she was doing fashion videos for Instagram, that she's a fashion influencer. And CNN made this their big story. Breaking news. Some secretary lady who works in a secluded office in Doge takes 5 minutes out of her day, probably during her lunch, to film stupid videos. This is a fucking stupid gotcha story. Okay. Yes, it's embarrassing. Yeah, it's a bad look. Yeah, and they probably shouldn't have been doing it. But this is a gotcha story. It means absolutely fucking nothing. CNN busted a Trump Office of Personal Management spokesperson, McLaurin Pinover, making fashion influencer videos at her government office, even as she defended the massive Doge cuts. President Donald Trump and Elon Musk have been chainsawing federal government jobs in one of the most visible subplots of Trump's first weeks in office. But not all government employees are suffering. A new report from CNN's Kurt Devine, Casey Tolan, and Audrey Ash revealed that even as Pinover was defending Doge's actions, she was shooting fashion videos for Instagram in her OPM office. On Tuesday night's edition of CNN Out Front, CNN senior investigative correspondent Kyung La stunned anchor Aaron Burnett with details of Pinover's activities, including the deletion of videos within minutes of being reached for comment. Doing the important work, CNN. Some fucking secretary. I mean, what is the suggestion here? That instead of her going to work, she's spending 8 hours endlessly creating. How long does it take to make a video? You can do both. Do you know how much time dudes in offices waste every day just fucking looking at fantasy football bullshit? People who go to offices and do shit, is the expectation that they are nose to the grindstone every minute except lunch. I mean, is it a bad look? Yeah, it's a real fucking bad look. Here, let's watch it. Let's see how bad of a look it is. It's a bad look. Is it important? Is it relevant to anything? Or is it just we got one of them. We got one of them. Look at them. We got them. They're doing something embarrassing. This is what CNN does so well. And the reason that I don't trust CNN. All right, here we go. Let's watch this report. And then we'll figure out what's going on here. Again, it's a bad look. I grant you, it's a bad look.
Need a floor stand?
Bad
Look
look.
no further. We at Maclocks have the widest variety of stands to fit your needs and your talent.
Proof
Comes
that
as a CNN
everything that
investigation
Trump does
looks
is
into
evil.
a high-ranking employee at the Office of Personnel and Management, the agency that sent out the mass email asking federal workers to justify their jobs. That high-ranking employee has been filming influencer videos that promote what she's wearing on social media from inside her government office. Kyung La is out front.
It looks just like any other influencer video. A young woman posing in front of a camera over and over and over again, showing off her trendy but timeless professional fashion. But she's no ordinary influencer, and that's no ordinary office. Her name is McLaurin Pinover, and she's the Trump administration's new director of communications for the Office of Personnel Management, or OPM, which manages federal employees. All of these videos were shot in her government office, right here at OPM headquarters in Washington, D.C., ground zero for Trump's plan to cut thousands of workers from the federal government in the name of efficiency. Inside her office, Pinover captures video at her desk, putting on makeup, modeling new outfits to her 800 followers. Pinover markets clothes on her account. Using what's called affiliate links, she could get a portion of any item sold through her Instagram.
Okay, I gotta stop here just for a minute. Just 800 followers. She's got 800 followers. Oh yeah, this is a big problem. She's a nobody. She's an absolute nobody, just making stupid videos. Well, CNN, you're really bringing down the most powerful people here. You're just, and look, I'm sure that she is gross. I mean, she seems, first of all, she's the kind of person who's like, look at my outfit. You know, she's one of those people, so gross. Also, probably gross for a whole bunch of other things, but she doesn't deserve to have her life destroyed. Like, I'm sure it's being destroyed.
Like this $475 skirt or $300 dress, but it's unclear whether she's made any money. On February 13th,
all right, let me just say this. She's got 800 followers, Kyung La. I'm pretty sure that she hasn't made any money. Okay, she's got 800 followers. Good Lord. We gotta go back to Frank, because Frank is such a beautiful innocent. Zelensky wrote an apology to Trump. I'm sure CNN didn't make that breaking news. No, they did. They absolutely did. But they also gave context. Trump is easily manipulated, and a fucking apology letter is really all it takes. You kidding me? Zelensky was schooled up by the heads of Europe. Macron, who fucking Trump loves. I love that guy. Why? Because Macron makes Trump feel cool. Because Macron knows how to fucking make this narcissist feel like he's important. That's all you got to do. Massively easy to manipulate this guy. All you got to do is compliment him. He'd be fucking at war with you for decades. But if you tweet, hey, Trump looks pretty good in that suit, he's going to be like, you know what? My lifelong enemy. He seems like a good guy. That's all you got to do. Frank, stop it. Like you think like, oh, Zelensky came back on his knees. No, Zelensky was like, well, you want a fucking apology? This fucking big baby? Here. Sorry. That's what he did. They didn't move the ball. This is how you use Trump. This is how you manipulate him. This is what the European leaders are figuring out. They're going to respect us. They sure as shit don't respect us. What they're trying to figure out is how to manage a 79-year-old retarded man. That's what they're trying to figure out. All right, but we're going to keep going. All right, here we go. Here's a story that I think should be a much bigger story. But then again, I always think things should be much bigger than they are because people like stupid stories. How come nobody is screaming about what's happening in the North Sea? Do we know about this? You guys following the North Sea collision between a cargo vessel and a NATO refueling ship? So we have a ship out there in the middle of the ocean. It's anchored, and it's filled with jet fuel, and it's filled with boat fuel, and it's out there because NATO warships and NATO planes that are patrolling the area, sometimes they're like, oh, we need some gas. So that's what these things are there for. That's what this thing is there for. It's actually a private industry. It's not a United States military vessel, but it is a private industry, American flag vessel that is contracted to the United States military or NATO. So that's out there in the middle of the ocean, and it's anchored, okay? So along comes this fucking cargo ship, North Sea, like in the middle of the fucking ocean. So along comes this cargo ship, this Chilean flagged cargo ship being operated by a Russian export company. Yeah, the captain is a Russian, the crew are all Russian. So they see this American flag fuel ship in the middle. They plowed right into it. The Russian crewed Chilean flagged cargo ship plowed directly into an American flagged military fuel vessel that was anchored in the middle of the fucking ocean. Do you know how hard it is? Do you know how hard it is just if you were a fucking couple of leafs on the ocean? You know how hard it would be to get in the drop them both in the ocean? You know how hard it would be to get those two to collide? Be really hard. The ocean's a really fucking big place, and boats by comparison are small. And do you also know how hard it is to have a collision in the middle of the ocean with the modern technology that these boats operate with? This military, that was not military. I want to make sure I'm not. This U.S. flagged ship would have known for like an hour before this, but that this boat was on a trajectory to collide with them. But the Russian ship drove right into it. Russian ship. I know it's Chilean flag, but it's a Russian export company that is operating the boat. It's a Russian captain and a Russian crew. Okay, now this happened a couple of days ago. I want to show you the video of what this looked like, lest you think this was a little thing. The middle of the ocean this occurred. Okay, so here we go. This is some video. Those are the two ships in the middle of the ocean in flames because one of them is just a giant gas station floating in the middle, and the other one is a really sus Russian-run cargo vessel. The cargo vessel, they say, was empty. There was nothing in it. But here's the story, and this is why I don't understand why it's not a bigger story. Again, remember, this doesn't happen. It can't happen with the way boats are now. In the middle of the ocean, one of them wasn't moving. One of them was just anchored in the middle of the fucking ocean. And another rando boat just rams right into it. Well, the captain, the Russian captain of the Chilean flagged cargo ship, has now been arrested. Cargo ship captain arrested in North Sea collision with U.S. flagged tanker is Russian national, owner of shipping line says. The captain of the Solong cargo ship, who was arrested after crashing deliberately into a U.S. flagged tanker off the English coast, is a Russian national. Deliberately, they know that's why he's arrested. Why did you fucking, because he's a Russian and it was an American flagged ship and he's probably a fucking crazy person and he snapped and he's like, I'm going to start World War III. We're not talking about this story. Everybody's talking about this story. And I think we're not talking about this story is because it is such a fucking scary story of a lone wolf acting upon, current global affairs, taking it into his own hands and possibly creating. He deliberately drove his cargo ship into the middle of a United States flagged gas station in the middle of the ocean. He's been arrested. The Europeans are handling it, but we're not talking about it. For some reason, this isn't a big story. I don't get it. British police have opened a criminal investigation into the crash. They've arrested a 59-year-old man on suspicion of gross intentional negligence and manslaughter. 2 people were killed in the explosion. They're still missing. There are people missing. A spokesperson for Ernst Rust, who owns Salong, confirmed to CNN that the arrested man is the ship's captain and that he is a Russian citizen. All right, there you go. Could all be a terrible coincidence. Could also be a crazy fucking lone wolf who is just tired of this bullshit and is ready to take down America any way he can. Just stop thinking that the average Russian loves America. They don't. Okay? Just because you point to somebody and goes, he's a real patriot, doesn't mean they're an actual patriot. Again, I remind you, Elon Musk is not a patriot. Okay? Sebastian Gorka is not a patriot. Okay? These people that you allow, I can't do it. Can't fucking do it. I'm the one with Lady Liberty behind me. I'm a patriot. Born and raised here. I have vomited up hot dogs and beer on the 4th of July. That's what being an American is all about. All right, let's talk about Gavin Newsom now. Let's talk about old pretty boy, old handsome Sam, if you will. I've been watching this dude for he's been around. He's been around for 25 years, but I never really paid any attention to him because, well, I don't live in California. I don't give a fuck. Gavin Newsom has kind of seemed like he wants to be the new millennial Kennedy since the moment that he jumped on the screen. He's got a great background story. He was the mayor of San Francisco. I think he was originally the attorney general or DA, and then he became the mayor and then governor and all of that stuff. But he had that hot ass wife who was a liberal TV commentator. He was like Mr. California liberal, and he had his super hot liberal TV lady wife who was also a lawyer. That's that Guilfoyle girl, Kimberly Guilfoyle. Yeah. Oh, and they were the power couple. They were California's liberal power couple. And then they got divorced, and apparently he is such an asshole in divorce that she completely changed her entire worldview, and then within a year was dating Donald Trump Jr. That's kind of weird, right? You gotta be sus of a woman who could be in love with both Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump Jr. You gotta be she's not really grounded, is she? She doesn't really have a real view of the world or a real take on how things ought to be. Yeah, that's who she is. So Newsom suffered a stall in his political trajectory. Well, unfortunately, he was a white guy. He was a white guy in 2015, 2016, 2017. Dems didn't really want anything to do with that unless it was for the president. White guy for the president, Dems always okay with, always. White guy for anything else running for office, no. There was about 10 years where white dudes were persona non grata, certainly on the national stage. It was black women and black men and gay white men, and it was whatever that was. So Gavin Newsom's career kind of stalled a little bit. Got passed up, certainly by Kamala Harris there in the state of California. He couldn't find his way. So after Kamala got her ass handed to her because she was an absolutely atrocious choice for president, and I see that now. So after Kamala got her ass handed to her, Gavin kind of saw an opening. He's like, okay, so she was the one from California that was stopping me from running for president. I couldn't run against her. That would be, the party would never accept that. Because the Democrats, as silly as they are, they still actually pretend they have a unified party. We have rules. Okay. Until somebody says, yeah, fuck your rules. Then you don't have rules anymore. The Republicans saw that happen. They had rules. Not anymore, though. All right. So Gavin Newsom is trying to rebrand himself, and you better believe that he wants to be president. Gavin Newsom is like, all right, I think it's all right to be a white man again, which I tend to agree with. It does seem a lot better, it seems a lot better since November. I'll give that personally, on a personal note. Trump winning has sort of made it a little more comfortable for me as a white guy to say some things that maybe, I wouldn't have said before. And I'm not racist and I'm not hateful, but that doesn't matter. Plenty of good white guys have been ruined. What happened to my TV? My TV just went off. We can't have that. Can't have the TV going off. All right, so Gavin Newsom, he's back. He's trying to do things. He's got a podcast because that's what we all do now. We all have podcasts. What's going on with my stupid TV? Why ain't work? Why ain't my new? All right, we'll try that. He's got a podcast and he's inviting all kinds of people on his podcast that normally, a Gavin Newsom or somebody pandering, Gavin Newsom pandering to a very specific political audience would never have these people on. I think he sat down with Charlie Kirk, who I don't get. Charlie Kirk makes me laugh. Like, you see like a 60-year-old man, sitting there tuning in every day, listening to some like 19-year-old pussy in a suit, tell him about how the world is. I'm Charlie Kirk. I'm a child, but I wear a suit. And now your dad's best friend thinks I'm brilliant. Okay, Charlie Kirk. You know the world. Or whoever, any number of these people. So he's inviting these polarizing people onto his podcast, and they're sitting down and they're talking. And I guess it was yesterday that this broke, or maybe the day before. But he had Steve Bannon on, or as I like to call him, Slop.